Today, it is my pleasure to interview Amber Valdez from Abundant Life Surrogacy. So our first question, please tell us why you started the surrogacy agency.
So I think it's a similar story to the reason a lot of people get into the surrogacy world in general. Somebody very close to me, one of my best friends as a teenager were told she couldn't have any kids. This was a big deal because she was adopted. So
Oh, wow.
for her to have a child that was biologically related to her was something that was very, very important. And so she was devastated by this news that she wasn't going to be able to carry for herself. And so she asked me if I would help her with her family. Was just getting married, 25. She's like, we want to be married for 2 years and then let's have some kids. And I said, just had my youngest. And I'm like, great, I could totally help you do this. This will be so amazing. Well, it turns out sometimes doctors are wrong, and she was able to get pregnant all on her own. So I was like, well, I guess I just lost that opportunity. Well, another one of my good friends was like, hey, I'm doing this thing. I'm going to be a surrogate. And I was like, oh, who do you know? Is it your best friend, sister? Who are you caring for? She's like, actually, it's a family I haven't met yet. I just thought it would be cool to help another family. And I had great pregnancies. So I'm doing this thing. I was like, you can just help another family? What?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to watch how it goes for her and
Mhm.
see how the process goes. And it went really, really well for her. And so then I was like, well, I want to do it too. Well, I did it. I went through an agency and I saw some holes in the system
Mhm.
that, it's really good. I like it, but also it's missing some bits and pieces. Well, I come from a hospice background. So my background was helping people end their lives well. That was
Wow.
kind of the mindset, is that, death comes to all of us, and to have somebody, a professional, to guide you along some of the bumpier parts of that journey. No matter how smooth a death is, there's always going to be pain points or
Yeah.
emotional upset. So what I did is I took the information that I had from running a hospice program
Wow.
to a surrogate agency, because there are some very, very major similarities. Like, you're only born once, you only die once.
Yeah.
Only get one chance to experience this specific pregnancy and this specific journey. There's not going to be a time when there aren't bumps in the road or extra education needed or somebody to walk along that journey with you. And so I took that, and that's how I started Abundant Life. Was I wanted to make sure that every family that we helped knew that there was somebody to walk with them along this journey, that they weren't going to do it alone, and that we were going to have the education and anticipate what they
Yeah.
would before, so they didn't have to ask the question. We know that this is where you're going to get in this point in the journey, and so we're prepared for you, um, and we're ready to help before you know that you need the help.
So when was this? So when did you have your surrogacy journey?
So my first surrogacy journey I delivered on November 11th of 2011.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
And
11 baby.
then yeah, I guess so. Yeah, all right. That's right. I forgot that November was 11th. But yes. And then when did you start your, sorry, now my cat is at the door begging to be come in.
Like it when you shut the door. They hate it when you shut the door.
Wait,
They
when
have
you shut the door,
the French doors too, and as soon as you shut it, they won't
they
close.
just, and they don't even want anything. They just like wanna, and they just wanna leave.
Yeah, they're like, you're there, I'm here. We need to switch positions, and as soon as you do it will matter.
Exactly. So when did you start Abundant Life Surrogacy?
So I started Abundant Life in 2015. So I
Okay.
started in 2014, but I got my official registration of state of Idaho is 3/15/15.
Okay.
So I had my own surrogacy journeys before I started the company.
And you had two journeys before?
I've had three. I've
Three.
two for
Wow.
the same family. So we had their 11 11 11 miracle baby.
Yeah.
then they wanted to add to their family. So we tried again and ended up with two at the
Oh
same
my
time.
gosh. Oh my.
So I came up with the theory 2 in, 2 out. You put two babies in, two babies come back out. And so, and then I helped one other family complete their family in 2017. And then I closed my uterus.
Okay. All right. All right. Got it. All right. So you guys have been around since 2015, and approximately how many cases do you take on? What's your kind of philosophy there?
So the maximum number of families that we accept into our program per year is 75.
Okay.
So I do want to keep it a smaller agency. It allows us to have that personalized, like intimate connection. Also, we're kind of focused just in the Northwest. So by limiting the number of parents we get, it also allows us to be able to just focus in one area where my coordinators can get to the surrogates, we can meet the parents in person. There we can create a sense of community around the surrogates and the parents. So we have, you know, 3 or 4 parents coming into town at the same time, and the surrogates all live, within 30 minutes of one another. And it creates more of a community feel, which is what I think makes surrogacy in Boise special. It's what makes it a
Yeah.
little different in some of the other areas where it's like, we can have 7 families utilizing surrogacy here in Boise at one time, from multiple agencies. We're all small,
Yeah.
but awesome when they can connect with one another, and um, it just creates more of that community sense, which I think it takes a village to raise a
Yeah.
child. Surrogacy, that's like no joke. It really takes a village.
Well, I feel like isn't it in Boise where that hospital, 1 in 15 babies that are born through surrogacy? Isn't like, isn't that in Idaho where am I mistaking? I just
Uh,
feel like there's a huge surrogacy, like it's a big place for surrogacy.
no, Boise's totally the surrogacy capital of
Okay.
the world, as far as I know. But it's because of that super community family focus.
Yes.
There's something to do all the time, year round. If you can go skiing in the winter, you can go swimming in the summertime. There's mountains, there's biking paths, there's indoor aquariums, there's indoor playground. We just have a very family focused area.
Yeah.
Boise's like a little big town. So it's this tiny city that feels bigger.
Yeah.
Like there's lots to do the entire time you're here, but we're not huge. We're a small area, but we are heavily populated with surrogates.
So for any potential surrogates or IPs out there, please describe or please provide a summary of all the benefits that you offer.
So ours is just really personalized, a
Mhm.
personalized experience. We're really, really thorough with our screening. So all of our surrogates have to meet all ASRM guidelines. So whatever the guidelines are, that's what they will have to adhere to. We try to use all best practices as well. So like if best practice put down from ASRM is 1 embryo per transfer, we are absolutely going to utilize that best practice. We want a sisterhood. So the surrogates that are part of our agency, our little tagline is like Suro for life. So they'll always be part of the community, even if they're done. So we have women in our group that have not had a baby since, 2007 or whatever.
Wow.
But they're still part of our surrogacy group because they're part of the community as a whole, and they can give advice or feedback or information. We do criminal background checks. We do financial verifications, all the regular screening process for any surrogate, review of health records, just making sure that it's a good situation for her and for any intended parents that they'll work with. And then we do ask that the parents go through kind of a vetting process
Please.
to ensure that they really fit with our agency and that there's not going to be expectations that can't be met,
Right.
or that we're not an ideal fit. We want to really be the best fit. This is a very personal and intimate relationship that you're entering, and you want your surrogate to be a good fit, but you also want the agency that you're working with to be comfortable, because you're going to go through some things that you've probably never experienced in your life.
Right.
Somebody that you know you can trust, that you can communicate with, and that you feel comfortable with overall.
I know before you mentioned before that you mostly work with, it wasn't clear to me, was it surrogates from the Northwest or IPs? Like, are your IPs, do you have like international ones, or is it all over?
So our parents are from all over.
Okay.
Our surrogates are located in the Northwest, because then it brings kind of everybody to this little section. So the surrogates can, have, group support.
Mhm.
And then also the parents, when they're in town, if there's multiple families, they can meet and hang out, because they're going through something very similar together.
Yeah, that's awesome. Please provide an example of a time where there was an issue during the journey and someone, either you or someone else from the agency, kind of stepped in and helped resolve it.
So that happens actually all the time. These are real people dealing with real life situations and real life experiences. So one of the ones that, I guess one of the most recent ones, we had a surrogate that, was not feeling comfortable sharing some of the details of the pregnancy, because
Oh,
there was a slight language barrier, and having that language barrier made her feel like, and there's a language and cultural barrier.
yes.
While we can provide some education, until you're in it, it's really hard to wrap your mind around, oh, that's different. And that is definitely a different way of communicating than how I normally, share information
Yes.
with people. And so she was like, feeling frustrated and feeling like almost emotionally spent. Like, I'm bottling up all of this information. So our coordinator reaches out, because we have regular touch points. We try to touch on our surrogates at least weekly.
Wow.
They're like, okay, that's a little bit too much. We will do bi-weekly, but that's kind of our expectations, that you will hear from us weekly, and we want to touch base with you weekly. We just want to make sure that you're doing okay. Like,
Yeah.
to be a massive long conversation. When our coordinator reached out, she's like, okay, I have all of these things going through my brain, but then when I try to tell them stuff, I feel like they don't understand. And our coordinator's like, we have a translator available for you that can help to assist with that, the exchange of information, and to relay that information in a way that they will understand. But also, he happens to live here in Idaho, the translator. And so he's very familiar with
Yeah.
we communicate and our specific Northwest culture, and specifically like the Boise, the Boise culture. So it just helped, because she's like, what? He lives here? I thought he was, in this other country where
Yeah.
the parents are. And I'm like, no, he's here. He's gonna. So it helped bring her some relief, and relieve some of the pressure. The conversation weren't easy, because it wasn't always the best news. They were, bleeding,
Yeah.
and some cramping, and just different things that are scary.
Yeah.
At least to have him and her coordinator there to really share that information and explain, this is what this means, and explain it to them in their own language, and then come back and relay what they're saying in a way that she could understand. And so that was probably one of our easier resolutions that recently happened.
That's great. That's a wonderful example. Thank you. That's great. The final question, I kind of feel like, well, you've already kind of mentioned it. What makes your agency unique, and what sets you apart from other agencies? And you're talking about kind of the idea of always being there for everyone, and kind of having these touch points, and following up weekly, or if that's too much, bi-weekly. And it seems like you've really developed your own community as well. I'm just trying to reiterate things that I took. And is there, I mean, not that that's not enough, but is there anything else that you want to add to that?
I think that's really about it. I want to make sure that it's a personalized experience, that this
Yeah.
is, you're not a number, it's not a checklist, but also that we've done this enough that like there is a system and you can trust the system. You can trust that, you know, we have a reason. So sometimes, you know, parents will be like, why are you asking me this question? This doesn't seem like it's going to make any difference in my pregnancy. And I'm like, but you have to understand the matching process. If I understand
Yeah.
you and how you think, then I'm going to be able to do my job better and to make sure that you're matched with somebody who communicates in a similar way to you, that has similar values, that has similar life experiences or a mindset or even just timelines. And so I think that the focus on providing a good fit, like a good match where, you know, you're not just connected with somebody for 9 months, like you might be connected for the rest of your life.
Right.
That might be something that both sides want. And we tend to attract surrogates that want that lifelong experience. And we tend to attract parents that also want that lifelong, like, you know, when my baby is 10, I want them to be able to see, oh my gosh, that this is one of the people that helped bring me to my parents and bring my family together.
Yeah.
So I do think that sets us apart.
Yeah. And that's amazing that you have so much experience yourself being a surrogate. And then
Yeah,
you can really, yes.
that helped a skosh. I really, I really
Just a
think
tad bit.
tad bit. I really think working on the death side of life helped
Yeah.
understand how important these moments are.
Yeah.
They're fleeting and they're important to each individual. They are important.
Yeah.
I think that if you don't recognize and realize that, you miss the whole concept of why anybody would want to be a surrogate. Like, why do they want to be a surrogate? They want to help somebody. They want to make a
Yeah.
difference in somebody's life. And so it kind of, I don't know, it just brings it a full circle for us.
Well, thank you so much, Amber. This was wonderful. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much. I love talking about surrogacy.